Welcome back to Partnerships Unraveled, the podcast where we unravel the mysteries about channel and partnerships on a weekly basis. My name is Efe, and I'll be your host in this episode. I'm excited to announce our special guests, Owen, McKee, and Dave from Partnerscore.io. How are you guys doing?
We're good. We're good, Effie. Great to see you as always. Looking forward to an enjoyable chat, right? Exploring all the new things that are happening in the channel.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time to be in the channel. And for those who are uninitiated, could you give us an introduction? Who are you guys? Why should we be listening to you? Owen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, actually, it's probably better for David to go first. David's the
Sure,
founder and CEO of the company.
Perfect. So I'm Dave Ward. I'm excited to be here. I'm founder and CEO of PartnerScore. So PartnerScore is a tech platform. We provide a constant rating for the strength of a business partnership. So really looking at the humans in the relationship and understanding what's not working and what is working well within a partnership. Just worth mentioning, we founded the company in 2020, right during COVID, actually, when communication was pretty strained between businesses. And we came up with a new method to measure this in real time and really start to bring together the different people within partnerships. So I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about sort of the human relationship today.
I'm looking forward to it. Owen?
Yeah, from my perspective, Effie, I've been around the channel for a long time. Worked with a whole host of different technologies based here in the US, and I'm helping David and the PartnerScore team bring PartnerScore to the US, getting those initial introductions and really taking the technology to a broader audience. I think there's a gap, and I know we'll talk about it a little bit further in the podcast about how technologies are becoming more aligned, and this reliance on intermingling and solidifying partner tech stacks. And I'm helping the guys with that. So excited to be here. I love the podcast format, and I think you guys do a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think when we first had a chat, Owen, I was kind of amazed by the things that you're doing, because I think you're bringing a new way of measuring the success of partnerships, because I think traditionally the partnership success was measured by 3 metrics. So looking at the revenue figures, doing quarterly business reviews, and customer satisfaction surveys, or also known as CSAT for short. But so you argue that this is not the complete picture. So there's a problem with this approach. Maybe could you give us a explanation of where does this approach lack?
Yeah, David. David,
Yeah, sure.
David probably got that chapter and verse.
I'm happy to chime in on that. Yeah. So, look, first of all, those 3 things you mentioned, they all have a really important role to play. So, revenue figures, quarterly business reviews, CSAT, they're all really great things to measure. But they only really work when you've got quite simplistic relationships and not too many of them, because actually you need to understand what's going on with the people that exist. And when you've got a small setup, you can do that. You can get in touch with people regularly and you can actually understand what's going on. But the real challenge comes when you start to scale up either a partnership and they become more complicated and you start to bring in more individuals within that partnership, or you start to build more partners. And suddenly the number of people that you need to touch on a regular basis to understand them grows exponentially. And it becomes really difficult for a partner manager and also the partner leadership, the channel chief, to stay connected to what's going on the ground. So we advocate measuring the relationship, the partner score, and we also see this as the leading indicator, which is the other critical aspect of this. So if you look at things like revenue, quarterly reviews and CSAT surveys, they're all lagging indicators. If you start to see your revenue figures have declined, you've already experienced a problem, and it's a problem that you would have liked to have known about before you experienced it. So what you find really with something like a partner score, where you're tracking in real time the human aspects of it, you're on top of whether that relationship's succeeding or not. And if it starts to decline, you can get in there early and fix it before that you have a hit on your P&L. So that's how we would be doing it.
Yeah. Just add to that, you have to be data centric in today's world. If you don't have data, then you're blind. And essentially what Partner Score are doing is they're giving you a greater depth on that data. They're testing that sentiment, and they're broadening the contact within the partner relationship, because you know this, that the conventional relationship is a one-to-one. It's the channel partner manager that's in contact with the salespeople or salesperson within that partner environment. Broadening that sentiment actually identifies and qualifies some of the risk that you have in that relationship, not just the revenue. I mean, all of the facets of what is going on in that business today. And so whether that's marketing, whether that's finance, you're touching all of these stakeholders within the partner environment. So revenue, of course, is critical, but sustaining the revenue and sustaining the relationship is existential in that program. And so because you're broadening the contact level, that enables you to identify risk at an early stage. And because, and I don't know whether David mentioned that, Partner Score is quite unique in that from a communications vehicle, it's doing all the basic things, but it's in always on environment. So the partner is able to make comments throughout that scorecard. So it's not your classic annual partner survey that no one really likes doing, and people pay a little bit of lip service to it. You get it. It's a 27-page document, and you fill it in 20 minutes before it's due to be returned. This is providing a communication vehicle, and I think that's the strength of it. It's an identification of risk, always on communication, and really should be leveraged as a strong facet within partner relationships themselves.
Yeah, one thing Dave said that really resonated with me, I think that sometimes the people that stay up in it, like that are positioned high up in the hierarchy in the channel, they may not always be aware of what's going on in the channel, especially when working with distributors and you work with hundreds of thousands of partners. Then the people who are making the decision or who are implementing the tools, they don't necessarily have insights into the little nuances or the things that may be going wrong. And I think like that's one of the things that Partner Score provides that information to those people who are making decisions within a channel organization. So we kind of talked about the problem with the traditional way of measuring partnership success. And as a solution to this, you guys came up with 7 predictors of partnership success. So could you please tell us the story behind how these predictors came to life?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so the 7 predictors, they're really like the secret sauce behind Partner Score's ability to track. And I'll give you a flavor for what they are. So the communication, things like commitment, credibility, mutual interest, social bonding. So looking at the people connection, things like conflict and cooperation. There's more information on our website if you do want to understand a little bit more about what they do. But there's 7 different aspects of a human relationship as part of the business relationship that we can measure. And the creation of those actually goes back about 15 years ago, when there was a piece of work done, an academic piece of work actually initially, and it was done to try to understand what really drives predictability within partnerships. And the overriding conclusion for this piece of work was that the human relationship that exists between 2 companies is the leading indicator and the future success predictor for performance. And that's really powerful, because if you know that, then you obviously want to build a stronger relationship. And as part of that same piece of work, the academic that looked into that investigated this also produced a way to measure it. And it was a really complicated tool to start with, actually measuring 23 different attributes, lots of different measurements. And it was the kind of tool that you would run once a year, and you would do a very in-depth study across your very large partner program, and you'd understand what kind of technologies you might want to invest in, where your focus areas might be to really improve the performance. We wanted to take this within the current world, 15 years on, we wanted to build a real-time solution, something that was always on and something that could be tracked. So you could provide a subset of this information to a partner manager or a channel chief regularly, and they could actually act on it before it was too late. And so we did a further piece of research, and we looked at the 23 attributes, and we managed to bring it down to 7. And these are the 7 things, the 7 attributes of success predictors that you need to measure to get a feel for the whole human relationship that exists between the two companies. So those are the 7 things that you'll see across our website and across our platform. And those are the things that are updated every day to give a partner manager and a channel chief kind of the information that they need.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I love it. And maybe it's going to be a bit of a personal question, and you may not have a specific answer to it, but out of those 7 predictors, which may also be good to repeat one more time because I already forgot them. But my personal question to you is that which one do you think is the most important to you personally, or which one do you think is vendors or partners are struggling with the most?
Yeah. So the 7, I'll repeat them again just because I did rattle through those rather quickly. So you've got commitment. So is the partner committed to the vendor essentially? Communication. You've got credibility, which would be, does the partner follow through on the things that they say they're going to do? Mutual interest. This is all about the strength of the commercial relationship that exists between two companies. So are they both making money, and do they see it as a fair and balanced relationship? You've got social bonding. So this would be, does the account teams really provide the support that they need to the other partner? And then you've got the last 2, which are conflict and cooperation. And so conflict kind of says what it is on the tin, and cooperation is all about joint planning activities. If I had to pick one for me personally, I would pick conflict. And the reason that I would pick conflict is, there's a new world emerging within partnerships. There's lots of talk about near bounds, and there's lots of complexity that comes with that. So, we're looking at, the existing kind of channel structure, the simple channel structure of a reseller buying from a vendor is becoming much more complicated. You've got people that are influencing that transaction now. There's more competition. So the roles are changing. And actually what you really need to understand is at a relationship level, are those roles and those partners helping each other, or are they kind of jarring against each other? So I would personally pick conflict. But I would also like to say that in reality, from our experience, no 2 businesses have one. They all have a different, depending on where they are in the journey, the nature of the business that they are, the industry that they're in, they will all have a different marker at a different point in time. And they'll have more than one. And those markers, a combination of markers might help them understand what's going on. And it might be a combination of markers that actually help them invest and track their investments in things like new technology and capability. So
slightly simpler view of that, Effie. I think for me, the most important one is the one that suddenly changes. So because you're in an always on, the moment that you identify a significant change, and it doesn't matter which of the success pointers it is, that's a call to action. And so that's where that priority lies. I mean, David's absolutely right. That the conflict side of things is very important. But as a communication vehicle, because you're providing this in an always-on environment, the moment you see that change, that's a call to action, not just for the channel account manager or the partner account manager. It's a call to action for the business, because it could be someone in your internal finance team that we can talk about war stories, right? But someone in finance not getting rebates done, processed on time, that's an existential part of a business's cash flow. And we know cash is king. So the partner relationship from a sales perspective can be great. But if finance aren't satisfied, then that's a risk to your relationship as a business. And so being able to provide that, I think, because you're getting lead indicators, that's what's important. So today it could be factor A, tomorrow it's factor B, depends upon what I'm seeing in terms of change.
Yeah, I fully agree. I get your point there. I think because the good thing about measuring these predictors is that you can immediately see if there's a sudden change, and that's the thing that channel leaders and channel organizations should be focusing on. For my next question, I would like to learn a little bit more about how Partner Score builds trust in partnerships and detects trouble before it's too late. And for this question, I would also maybe like to hear if you have any success stories, maybe with a specific vendor that you could share with us.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think trust in partnerships is obviously it's something that I think is of growing value. It's always been high value, but I think there's you look at the stuff like the Near-Bound Manifesto, written recently by Jared Fuller. Trust is the new data, and you look at that and you think, yeah, it's totally right, because you're in an environment now where you're being bombarded with data on prospects. You've got the tools to go after them. There's lots of noise. And so naturally, it comes back to which relationships, which partnerships are going to drive the strongest wins based on trusted recommendations. So, I totally buy that manifesto, Trust is the New Data. I think it's spot on. We talk about, Partner Score being able to detect trouble before it's too late, because it gives you a real-time view on the strength of the relationship. So we've talked a little bit on this call today about leading indicators and lagging indicators. Well, the relationship being the leading indicator, it gives you the forewarning to understand exactly where there might be challenges, and so you can fix those before it's too late. The second thing that we do actually at Partner Score is we collect the information from partnership teams and the individuals that are important to those teams. And we also serve it straight back. So we bring the information in, we build the metrics, we build a scorecard, and then we serve that scorecard in real time straight back to the audience that participated in a kind of group format. And so what that does is it allows a team, a partner team of two companies, not just one. So now the partners, both sides of the partnership, are getting access to this information, and they're able to see it, and therefore they can contribute and collaborate on the information they're seeing, and that's how you kind of help build that trust before you have an impact to your P&L. So that's kind of how we do it.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of similar to our approach in Channext as well. I think you measure success on an overall level of a partnership, and what we do here is we basically look at the leading marketing metrics from a partnership. For example, how well that partner's end users, how well their audience is resonating with the messaging from a specific vendor. How is that content being seen by their audience? So I think there's a lot of value to be seen there. The thing is, I feel like we track a lot of data, but we don't necessarily know what to do with the data. I think that there's a lot of data everywhere, but then when it comes to actually analyzing it and coming up with actual outcomes and decisions, then I think there's a lot of lag within the channel. I think that also there's a lot of talk about it recently as well with the 360 insights, the ecosystem play, how we're becoming more integrated and making sure that the solutions within a channel space are not siloed, but they're integrated. The data is flowing between one another. And I think Canalys also has this map of all the technology in the channel space, and there's like tools like TCMA, incentive solutions, the PRMs, the traditional partner portals, and Partner Score and Channext also, we are both in the space as well. So as my last question before I let you guys go, I would like you to hear how you see Partner Score fitting as a part of an integrated solution within the channel partnership space.
I think I'll start that off, David, and then you can wrap it up. I think you made some great points, Effie, right? The marketplace is changing. Everything is data centric. The challenge that I think organizations have today, very similar to what you've just talked about, is which is the data that's important, which is the piece that matters, and how do you get to that information? So if I'm looking at channel data management, I've got to make preparations for QBRs. I've got to drive incentives across that business. There's risk associated with all of that if the data is inaccurate. So constantly what you're looking at is to identify the right piece of data and make sure that that is accurate. And I think that's essentially what we're doing, and that's the initiative I think people like 360 have taken. It's great to be part of that ecosystem, to look at that and say all of these pieces matter, but it's getting that aligned and delivering that in such a way that it's meaningful to both sides, right? Both parties. It's got to be meaningful for the partner, and it has to be meaningful and consumable within the business to drive cause, effect, impact, and to deliver ultimately a positive partner experience. Because if you don't have a positive partner experience, guess what? They'll find another vendor that they'll work with that is a positive experience. So David, over to you to wrap that up.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that, really. I think with Partner Score, we very much see ourselves as part of an integrated solution. I think there's not really any other solution that's exactly what we do. So we're kind of very complementary alongside things, other tracking solutions, other metrics and sources of information. So bringing that all together is really, really important for us. So we're kind of keen to be part of the sort of best of breed type approach that 360 Insights are taking, and we're happy to be involved with that. I think the other aspect really is thinking that the relationship and the human element, it runs across all technology, and technology has a big impact on that. So if you're thinking about bringing in different solutions, you might be using Channext for your marketing automation, 360 Insights for your portal, maybe Superglue for to enhance your partner engagement strategy. You want to know that all those systems in a connected way are working. And actually a good way to do that is to understand whether the relationship is being improved or whether there are challenges around the relationship across that connected stack. And I think that's something that's becoming quite difficult to do. And something like a Partner Score can provide that constant sort of check to make sure that things are working. So we monitor and check based on the relationship. That's all I'd add really to that. So yeah.
Well, thank you.
Point, I think. Thanks for that, David. If there's no pulse, there's no movement, right? And I think that if you think about that in body terms, the first thing in cases of emergency that your first responders or medical staff do is they test the pulse. They test to see if there's a pulse. And effectively, that's what Partner Score are doing on a constant basis, is testing the pulse of that. Is it doing what it should be doing? And if not, what do we need to do from a corrective or a proactive perspective? Getting ahead of that curve is very important. We live in a dynamic world today, and this harmonization of technologies, I think, is the future. We've seen that North Star. We're not quite there yet, but I think as an industry, we need to keep focusing on the evolution of technology and leveraging it to the full. And that's not one platform. That's multiple platforms harmonized to deliver that right result.
Yeah, thank you for that. And us being a channel podcast and being in the partnerships, what we like to do before to ask our guests to give us a referral. So what we like to ask our guests is to invite the next guest on the podcast. I don't know if you guys have anyone in mind or have you thought about it, but who do you think would be a great guest on the Partnerships Unraveled podcast?
Actually, David and I were talking about this yesterday, and again, this speaks to this concept of leveraging the strength of different platforms, different technologies. And I think someone that we're very keen to work with is Gary Morris from Successful Channels. I've spoken with Gary, and he'd be delighted to be a future guest. I think what they're doing from an automation perspective, leveraging data, automation of business plans, QBRs, etc., absolutely becomes central to taking that next step of the relationship and the sentiment aspect of things to deliver key metrics and business performance. So I think he would be a great guest for you.
Well, if you're listening, Gary, I'm coming to get you. I'll send you a message, and let's connect.
I'll tell him you're on his case, Effie. I'll tell him you're on your way.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks so much, Owen and Dave. I'm really excited about what you guys are doing at Partner Score, and I'm excited to see you grow. I will leave your guys to all our audience. I will leave Owen and Dave, their LinkedIn, on the description. If you want to reach out to them, if you want to learn more about Partner Score, please do so. And thank you.
Thanks, Effie.
Great, thank
Good
you,
to see
Effie.
you.